Welcome back. Our guest is Honorable Lanre Issa-Onilu, Director General of the National Orientation Agency. He's reaching us remotely from his office in Abuja. And we're looking at the continuation of the protests that started yesterday. But it's arguably a much calmer affair than yesterday. And the one thing that is sort of much in evidence, Honorable Onilu, is the attitude of the police. At the same time, the police, we started off with the Inspector General of Police, an excerpt from his press conference. But one has noticed that it looks like Nigeria is seeing a kind of police that it hadn't seen in quite a while. Whereas they put on their show of force, whereas they are called red alert, they are on a red alert, as the Inspector General had said. But still, you could still speak with the police. This is a much different police, perhaps, arguably. It depends on how you see it, where, you know, the whole principle of our fundamental right, we will have our say. The police, that whole quote-unquote bloody civilian attitude was not much in evidence, where senior police officers were engaging and reasoning with people. And even when they were breaking the law according to the court pronouncements, the police, surprisingly, defaulted to, okay, it is what it is. We still need to be protective of both the protesters and those that don't want to protest. That's a good sign, isn't it? That's a good sign that can be developed upon. Although the police said finally that this will not be allowed to happen again. I mean, they are what they are. It is their duty to enforce law and order. But they continue to engage and speak with these protesters.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you again, but I think I get a hang on your question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we must first understand that you cannot expect less under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. If you take it back to where he is coming from, he's gone through all of this more than an average person in this country. He stood up in this country. He was arrested. He was locked up. He escaped through the borders, went on exile, fighting for democracy, fighting for the good of the people. So there's no way you would have him and then he will now ask people not to express themselves. Far from it. But under that, we must commend the Inspector General of Police and his men. And the same thing applies to other security agencies. They have done this country proud. They were so professional. In the face of provocation, they handled it very maturely. And if there is anything that confirms, it confirms that we are actually under a regime of renewed hope. Because it gives hope that people can be defiant, but they will still get the treatment they deserve under the law. So I commend the police, and going forward, we now know that Nigeria is coming of age in terms of the way to handle this kind of issue. So we must all now recognize the fact that we need to pull back at this stage. We need to allow this government to realize the courageous, policies that have been put in place for us to get the benefit of this as soon as possible. The last 2 days are not gains; they are losses to this country. A lot of businesses could not operate. People couldn't go to work. These are losses. These are not gains. And even prior to this time, since this notification was given, for 3 weeks, many dealers, many store owners are no longer taking goods from manufacturer, so that in case people are going to loot their store, so the stock will not be too much. So practically, we are shutting down the country when we say we are fighting for the good of the country. So it's a major issue that we need to think about. And I want to talk to the lawyers, those who have stood up to say they are lawyers to the protesters. I'm sure they now see why people were cautioning, were asking us to be patient, to use other forms, of protest. And because there are many ways you can protest, not only when you are on the street, when we all know what would come out of it, which we have seen clearly now. So I must now talk to those lawyers to please now reconsider that the reason for the protest, in the first place, when you look at the way the protest was named, it is named as bad governance. I've just mentioned just a few of what has happened in the last 1 year. And you want to classify those as bad governance?
Honorable Onilu, let me bring in, I hear you, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let me bring in our reporter, Theophilus Elema, TVC News correspondent. He's in Ojota now, so let's join him there and get an update on how it is. Okay, a fine morning to you, Theophilus. We can actually see some of it ourselves, but please, give us a situation report because I can see your background. It looks calm and, orderly as much as possible because I can see traffic.
Truly, yes, it looks calm and everything. Everything is going on well. But earlier in the day, some other demonstrators came into the Ganifa Wemi Park and tried to stop the disc jockey from setting up. Because yesterday there was a disc jockey that set up and was playing music, playing some conscious music. And so today while he was trying to set up and the protest was going on, some other demonstrators came and stopped him. And so it created some form of fracas here. And the other protesters were saying, alluding to the fact that they wanted the protesters to go into the Ganifa Wemi Park, and the protesters were not budging at all. So at the point, the police had to come in and calm the situation. That you still see that the protest is going on. The disc jockey is still playing. It's a carnival-like situation here because they've been dancing at some point, enjoying themselves. The protest is going on now. As you can see from the videos we are showing you, there's a procession going on, and so they are moving all the way forward. This is the same thing that happened yesterday. They moved forward, came backwards, and we had a procession like that. Well, we came here this morning. Policemen were all around the place. The policemen, the civil defense, the Lagos neighborhood safety, they're all over the place in Ganifa Wemi Park to ensure the peace. And so far, so good. It has been largely peaceful. Where I am is quite a vantage point, so you can see everything happening. It's quite peaceful as it is. There has been, apart from what happened earlier, there has been no form of harassment so far.
Well, that certainly is good news, and I can see that whole crowd there, it's in the service lane, so I guess people didn't know. It seems to be well managed, at least the way we're seeing it on here. It seems to be well managed. These people are able to, express themselves, and there doesn't seem to be a threat to security, which is what was required from the very beginning. That was the request from the very, very beginning. As to the messages, some of those messages, what are the messages that you are seeing them say? Are they what we've been hearing, that they want you reverse the price of fuel, we want 250,000 naira, those kind of things, Oh,
yes, those messages have been coming forward. They have put it in placards and billboards and everywhere. There are banners there, as you can see. Their message is loud and clear. They want a reversal of the price of fuel to the old price. They want some amenities, basic amenities, hospitals, facilities coming up on stream so that, in quotes, the poor masses can benefit and reap the dividends of democracy. Basically, calling for good governance in this different sphere of the country. That's what they have been calling for. And we spoke earlier to the Commissioner for Information in Lagos State, and he told us that their messages have been heard loud and clear, and admonished them, congratulated them for having a peaceful protest, and also admonished that they end the protest in the interest of peace and in the interest of the nation. But as it is right now, it doesn't look like anything is going to stop anytime soon. They're still proceeding forward, and they're also trying to allow some vehicles pass through as well. But as it is right now, they're moving forward. Possibly they might come back, but it might even go further, but the Ganifa Park is one of the designated spots for them to have their protest. Already the Peace Park is empty. No protesters since yesterday. No protesters since yesterday have been at the Peace Park since yesterday. We've been there this morning. We've come on live this morning at the Peace Park. No protester is there. But at the Ganifa Park, all the protesters are here passing their message to the government and calling on the government to do the needful in everything.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Theophilus. Things seem calm there. We also have Demola Lawrence in Abuja. Let's see what the situation is like there. Good morning to you, Demola.
Yeah, good morning, Yori. Of course, it's been an interesting one here at the National Stadium. Earlier, I was here like around 9:30. There was nobody here, so we moved down we got a hint that they were gathering at Bega. And of course, we got to Bega, but of course, they were dispersed and they moved back down to the National Stadium. If you can see, the protesters are actually here now. We're just waiting for them. The normal procession hymn that protesters do when they come to the protesting ground. That's what we're just waiting for. But while I was here, I already spoke to some of them, and they are still saying that they want, as a matter of fact, they said they want the president to speak to them concerning. After what happened yesterday, they just feel that the president can just address them. They just want to hear his voice and tell him exactly things will be okay. And that's what they're saying here. And that the president should be able to look at some of his economic policies that he has put in place, most especially the security situation in the country. And that is what the protesters are actually saying here at this particular ground.
Indeed. Well, as you know, as you say, they have the caption that they have. And bad governance, but people, our guest, for instance, is Honorable Lanre Issa-Onilu, and he's been reeling off some of the things that have been done even before the protest. But again, it's a freedom of speech time, and so they are expressing themselves. As you say, the commissioner in Lagos was telling, I'm mixing up Lagos with Abuja. I was just speaking with your colleague, Theophilus, in Lagos, where the commissioner was telling them that telling the crowd that the authorities are indeed hearing you very loud and clear. President Tinubu has always been saying this, that I hear you, I feel your pain, I know your pain. In fact, it was said that there was no need for this protest, but again, allowing for democracy and freedom of expression, freedom of speech, the right to associate. The protest has gone on with encouragement from the police to please be orderly so that we can be on top of the situation for the protection of both the protester and those who are not interested in protests. Well, I want to thank you, Demola. That's what we have from Abuja there. And of course, as you can imagine, TVC will stay on it right through the day. And when there's anything worthy of reporting, it'll be brought to you speedily. So, Honorable Lanre Issa-Onilu, back to you in Lagos. This is the kind of, things seem to have calmed down a bit. Seems to have calmed down. We're not talking about a carnival atmosphere. Okay, the authorities had always said that there was no need for this protest because you don't preach to the converted. The Tinubu administration had said that we know this, but then President Tinubu has said, the buck stops here. We'll do whatever it is that has to be done just to make sure, and you were just pointing out that when it comes to democracy, you can't put President Tinubu very far behind at all. He's been through it all in his 3 decades, journey to State House. And so he will be the very last person that will stifle expression or stifle, freedom of association. I suppose you are encouraged how things are settling down. It's over back now to orientation of the people, where I think you have indicated, sir, that there's much work to be done so that we don't have the kind of pictures that we had coming out of certain parts of the country where it just didn't make much sense. It's like people didn't seem to know that destruction of your own property, people talk about public property, it's ours, and we are going to have to fix it. Maybe those are the kind of things, now that you are in charge at the orientation agency, I hope that there are plans for a concerted campaign in this regard, you spoke about that earlier, can be done. I don't know if I were to ask you, are you satisfied with the level of funding now so that you're able to do the needful?
Yeah, well, you can never have enough, to do whatever you want to do. But, the most important thing is the system support. With President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, it is not by accident that you now have Minister of Information and National Orientation. It was a deliberate policy by the president because of the importance it attaches to the need for this orientation. Value orientation is something he has spoken about throughout campaign and since he became president. In the last 8 months since I've been here, we've consulted, I've been to 17 states, reaching out to all form of stakeholders, and we've brought together all forms of, committees that produce the blueprint on the national identity, project that the president will soon unveil. And the national identity project defines who we are as Nigerians. What are your expectations of the man who calls himself a Nigerian? We must know that. And now we have also identified 7 critical institutions of nurturing that this administration will create to ensure that every citizen is nurtured from birth to be a model citizen, to be somebody who is an embodiment of the attribute of a real Nigerian. And we have also done a lot of, campaign materials that are ready to be for deployment, and we are getting listening ears from the president. And I'm sure very soon the situation will not be the same again. But you also know that there is a lot of competition for resources. But this orientation, everybody understands that it is the bedrock for whatever development that we want to pursue. As I said from the beginning, you cannot build Nigeria if you don't build Nigerians. So the effort to build Nigerians must actually precede whatever is, effort we are making to build the country. Let me give you recent examples.
Very briefly, please, because we almost run out of time.
I was on the third mainland bridge.
Yes.
I was on the third mainland bridge last week. I have never seen that bridge in that sparkling form. But immediately the bridge was ready, barely 2 weeks, somebody climbed the third mainland bridge and began to remove some of the furniture, the railings, to sell. That is somebody who has not been nurtured as, with values. The second Niger bridge that just recently was commissioned, somebody went there to remove the metal to sell for how much? It's like you're destroying your own country. Nobody will do that if you are somebody who has values. Who understand what
we're going to have to leave it there, Honorable Issa-Onilu. We're going to have to leave it there. But I want to thank you very much for making the time for us. The Director General of the National Orientation Agency just let us know that a policy is about to be unveiled by the President as to, how to be a Nigerian. That is my paraphrase of what it is all about. Thank you very much for making the time for us this morning. So we're going to have to leave it there. That's the program today. Do please join us on Monday, and do be safe. Have a great weekend. I'm Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.